there, Fro Nation. Welcome to another edition of FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. This is week 26, or episode 26. I took last week, and I didn't have a Raw Talk. I am starting to work on bringing in other guests, whether they're here in person or whether they are going to be over the Skypey McSkyperson. I prefer doing them in person because it's more personal, but also there's so many people in this world that I could sit down and talk with that I think it's important that I branch out and do the Skypey McSkyper thing. If you guys think you would like that. Would you like that, or do you like seeing people in person? I like going and doing the talks in person, but that's just me. I just think it's different than what other people are doing, and I like being different. I think you guys have figured that out, that I like to do things that other people aren't doing, or take them to a different level, or if somebody goes left, I go right, or front of the stage, back of the, all that type of stuff. But who would you like to see if I could do a Raw Talk on Spreecast? No, not Spreecast. If I could do a Raw Talk on Skype, or anywhere. Maybe we do a live Raw Talk one day on Spreecast. Who would you like to see? Leave some comments, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, email, wherever you want to leave them. Just leave them so I can see them. So I want to thank allenscamera.com. We're going to get this out of the way real quick. allenscamera.com for all of their support. If you're looking for a Nikon D5200 or a Canon T4i or anything that you want to pick up at a camera store and you want to support the mom and pop people that support me, check out allenscamera.com. I just ordered some big ass prints from Adorama Pics. I'm trying the 24 by 36 metallic or aluminized prints. I'm trying. That's the largest print they do. It's like $189. So I ordered up one of those. Ari doesn't know I ordered it for him yet. I ordered the a really cool picture that he likes, but I wanted to test it out, so I ordered that. But that's a big-ass print. That's a big aluminum print. Comes ready to hang. You know, funny thing is, I went to hang my photos on the walls in the new loft, which I got to do a walkthrough for you guys, and it just didn't seem like it would work. There was just something different about this loft compared to the old loft, that the custom lamination that I love for the galleries doesn't seem to work in this place. It just seemed like it would clutter up my walls. So I ended up saying, all right, we're not going to hang these. It just didn't feel right. So I'm going to find another solution, and maybe that's Adorama Pics and getting some smaller prints made. I love the aluminized prints. I just love the fact that you can hang them on the wall. They're ready to hang, and they're metal and all of that. So check them out. Thanks to bbopokertable.com. But also want to thank Drobo. You guys know that I'm going to be giving away some more Drobos. I got like, 9 more to give away? I've got a lot to give away throughout the rest of the year for different things. But yeah, I've got my storage device. I'm waiting to use... I've got 4 Drobos sitting over there on the shelf. You can't see over there. But I've got the 2 5Ds and 2 minis. The only problem is I don't have the new computer, any iMac or Mac that takes USB 3.0 or the Thunderbolt. So right now they're just sitting over there. I'm using 2 old ones, but I'm waiting. I got to get it. I'm waiting for the right time to purchase a 27-inch iMac or a MacBook Pro 13-inch, which have come down majorly in price. But enough about that. There's somebody else. Who we got? Vanguard. I'm going to do a contest to design the next t-shirt. Put it out there and give away a Vanguard tripod or something. The winning vote, you guys get to vote on it, and that becomes the next t-shirt that I run in limited quantity. And your victory or your prize for winning and the thank you is a nice Vanguard tripod. And that's pretty cool. So, on to the show. There's a secret word. There, I'll just throw them out. On to the show. FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. I just throw it out there. I like doing flying solo shows. I love flying solo. Hey, who doesn't? What guy doesn't like flying solo? Oh, there's another one. Who doesn't like flying solo? What guy doesn't like flying solo? But that's not what this Raw Talk is about. We're not going that direction with Raw. I know, and I'm so fidgety today. I'm getting ready to go shoot Silvertide. It's their first gig in 6 years that they're playing together. So I get to shoot everything from anywhere, and that's my goal. And I'm focusing in on shooting photos. I will be going around the show, before the show, out to dinner, on stage, in the pit, after show. I'm going to shoot. That's my job, is to shoot. And I don't think I'm going to put the first-person shooter camera on, because there'd be a lot of stuff to cut together. I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. I always second guess every time. It's like, I want to video everything I do. I want to share just about everything I shoot with you guys, because I don't know. I like making content. But then there's times that I don't want to do that because I just want to shoot and I just want to be focused, but then I get upset that I didn't make the content because I'd love to share it with everybody. It gets so frustrating trying to figure out what to do. But yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got. I want to take a drink of water. Somebody asked a funny question, and I replied to it. They're like, can you pause the show when you drink water? I'm like, no. I'm not going to pause the show when I drink water. It's part of the show. You drink water. People drink water. And you don't pause the show for water. That's all I got to say about that. So in the Fro Nation world right now, we're building. We're continuing on. There's some things that I'm working on that are bigger, that I want to partake in bigger forms of content creation that I can't wait to share, that I can't wait to shoot, for God's sake, because it makes it fun. I love shooting. I want to bring these ideas to you guys. I can't wait to start doing the live show now that I'm getting settled into the loft. I want to start broadcasting live and do some kind of live show like I used to do on a Sunday and get Adam down here and just have some cool talks. I just want to do it. I love those shows. I love the interactions. They make it fun. I hope I'm not boring the crap out of you, but I want to get into these questions. We've got, I think, 6 pages of them again. I've got 6 pages, but at 18 font because I'm blind and I like to see, so I don't have to squint and stuff. And we're going to go for the hour. And next week I'm going to try to get my friend in here, Jeff Fusco. He shoots. There's some other people I need to call. I really need to get on the ball. I'm dropping the ball on calling people. I get distracted during the week with other stuff and other work, and I really need to focus on who's texting me. Oh, my trainer's texting me. He's like, tomorrow, 11, to get pumped. Urgh. I like having the trainer, by the way. So I don't know what I was saying, but let's get into this. Let's start answering these questions. Michael Dunlap, who's always around, when will the Flash video be released? By the way, these questions come in order, so I don't put them in any order. I just put them down as they come in. When will the Flash video be released? It's a great question. It is being edited and cut down. I've seen 5 different cuts of different segments right now, and they're good. They made me happy. I always worry about the content. I always worry what we're creating, and Adam was in this, so it's different when you're working with somebody else and you've got to work together and you can't get upset at each other, which we did because that's what we do. But it went really well. The filming went well. The shooting went well. The angles look great. Everything looks great. And more importantly, the content is great. I let one person get a little sneak of those 5, and she thought it was really, really good for somebody who's a beginner in Flash, whether you just picked it up. It's kind of the same lines of the FroKnowsPhoto beginner guide. It's the beginner guide to getting out of auto is for beginners or people who have had a camera and aren't sure what they need to do with it next. And the same thing is going to hold true with Flash photography. It's somebody who's never ventured into Flash that has interest in using Flash, or somebody who's bought a Flash and doesn't know what the hell they're doing with it. It's going to help you out. It is the starting point. It is where you should start to get the basics of Flash so that you get the fundamentals down before you move ahead and turn into a awesome photographer using Flash. Hope Photo. Do you use manual or automatic focus? And do you think every photo needs... Okay, let's take the first sentence of this. Do you use manual or automatic focus? I use autofocus. Most of the time, 99.9754321.8% of the time do I use, and there's another one you could throw out there if you want to throw a secret thing. If you hear things that should be quotes from the show, just put them out there on the Facebook and on the Twitter and on the YouTube and leave them below and wherever you want. I use autofocus for mostly everything. That's because of my eyes. They're not sharp, and I don't shoot with glasses on, so I like to let automatic do it, but I have a way of finding the proper focus with the boxes and moving them around, so I find what I want. The only time that I would use manual focus is when I'm using macro and it's not locking in where I want it, or it's super low light and I try to get it right. That's where I use it. Do you think every photo needs to be edited, or do you think a photo can be perfect on its own? Tips for beginners with Photoshop for clearest detail, etc. Where do I watch this show? Yeah, I think every photo needs to be tweaked in one way or another. Some photos need to be tweaked less, and that happens with Flash. You'll see that Flash has more contrast when you shoot. It's a thicker file, so you don't really need to boomify it as much, but I think every file needs to be tweaked one way or another, especially if you're shooting RAW. There are no adjustments added to it, other than when you pop it in the Lightroom or Photoshop, that there are some minor normal tweaks that are added that are consistent, but you can tweak past that. So I think every RAW file needs to be tweaked because it just needs to be tweaked. Tips for beginners with Photoshop for clearest detail. Detail doesn't happen in Photoshop. Clear cleanliness or sharpness doesn't happen in Photoshop. If you don't have an image that is sharp times 24, then you're not going to make it sharp in Photoshop in post. So sharpness occurs out of there, but boomifying helps it, and not over contrasting or over sharpening helps it. Ken Arnold II. I have been using single focus a lot lately on my D7000, and it has helped me get the focus where I want to in a portrait. Well, that's what it's for. It's for putting it where you want it. If I'm shooting landscape, should I use multiple points or a single point? Well, multiple points are really used for when you're shooting moving subjects, and the focus is changing or shifting, or the subject is moving from one focus point to the next, and you want the camera to make the judgment and track them. When it comes to landscapes, pick a spot. Pick the spot you want to focus in a single point and focus there. That's really what it comes down to, and I'm not a landscape shooter. I don't shoot a lot of them. Though, water... Now that I have the Gigapan for 2 months, that's going to make me a landscape shooter. I'm going to have to go out and shoot. See, I'll be honest with you. I mean, why wouldn't I be? But I have trouble kicking my own ass to go out and shoot. I really need to be forced to go do things. But once I get there, and it's like a personal thing. I don't know what's wrong, if I've got something wrong with me, if I like being in, or I'm scared to go out. I'm not really scared to go out, but I need sometimes that kick in the ass. We all need it, but more so me. I need that kick in the ass to go out and create. And, you worry about certain things, but then once you get there, you start shooting and you start feeling good that you went and did something productive. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I sometimes need encouragement to go do these things. So that's it. Jeff Long, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Duck-sized horses. Well, they'd be mini. They'd be really small. Oh, a big duck. Holy shit. A big duck. Earmuffs. One big duck the size of a horse. I'm gonna go that it's a big horse, a big-ass horse, not a, like, quarter-sized horse, not one of those ponies. I don't want to fight a big quacker. I'd rather fight 100 little duck-sized horses. But they're small. Well, I'm going to go with 100 duck-sized horses for no reason. Nick Navarro, I'm sure you have a video about trying to make money at photography, but I have a specific case I'd like you to address. This is one of those longer questions, but I thought it was worth it. I want to have a little extra income. I have a full-time job, and therefore I don't want a full-time photography job. I enjoy outdoor portraits and will probably focus my work there, quote-unquote. I'm more than a beginner, but far from pro. I own a Nikon D3100 with a kit lens 18-55, Nikkor 55-251.8. Would it be logical to offer shoots at ridiculously low prices, explaining to the customers that I am a beginner and using the jobs as portfolio builders? Or should I just keep practicing on my own until I'm comfortable enough to sell myself as a photographer? Do you think a hooker has to practice before they sell themselves on a side of a street, or do they just throw themselves out there and take money? I'm not calling you a hooker. That's just what came to my mind. I mean, they practice because everybody can just practice on their own. But then there's sometimes you just have to throw yourself to the wolves. And do you offer yourself for cheaper because it's your first time hooking or being on a street corner? I don't know. I haven't asked a hooker because I've never been with one. My mom always said, don't pay for it. And I've lived by that. So if we're going to use the hooker mentality, I'm going to say, first off, there's no reason to knock yourself down to a client and explain to them that I am just a beginner. You are a photographer, whether it's your first time shooting or whether it's your 1000th time going out on a shoot. Have the confidence that you can make it happen. Don't go in there and knock yourself down right off the bat, because who's going to want to pay you if you label yourself as just a beginner? You're a photographer. Hey, I'm a photographer. I'd like to shoot portraits of you. Do you mind if I use them for my portfolio? I'll give you a discount because I'm trying something new. You don't have to put yourself down in order to make people want to shoot with you. Let your work speak for itself, for one. Show them your work. If you're looking to make money, then offer them something like, I'll let you name your own price within reason. And studies have found, I don't know what studies because I didn't read any of them, but studies have found that when restaurants, I think, who has a restaurant that it's for like homeless people or anybody that wants to come and you pay whatever you want, that they found that the average pays more than what the meal would have cost, because they don't feel obligated, but they feel like they should pay a little bit more, like $10 instead of $5. So give people the option of saying, look, name your own price. What do you feel is a reasonable price to go out and photograph with me? And that way you take the onus off of you. You let somebody pick that price. And then you can decide off of that whether you're going to take the job or not. I've done this with weddings, and I know it may sound ridiculous, water, but it's not ridiculous. I like giving people the option because it takes it out of your hands. You make them make the first move. It's a classic sales move. You don't want to, shoot your load before that they, another hooker reference, you definitely don't want to do that too soon, but you don't want to tip your hat or tip your hand. No, it's not tip your hat. You don't want to tip your hand, because if you tip your hat, nobody knows what your hand is. You don't want to tip your hand before you've gotten there. So it's like when sales, it's when somebody goes, what does this cost? You go, well, what's your budget? Your first question should be, what's your budget? Because then you get an idea of what you're working with. Then you can base it off of that. Then there's a starting point. But when somebody's like, what do you cost? Well, if I'm a hooker, I'm going to be like, I'm $1,000 an hour, yo. What? And I'd be like, yeah, I get paid to make you holler. But then you don't know, could you have made $3,000 or not? So when it comes to that, ask people, what's your budget? And I've done this with weddings. The last wedding I shot, I asked, what is your budget? Because they're like, normally we know you're really expensive and we want you to shoot and I want to shoot with you. And so I'm like, what do you have? And they threw a number out there, and it's lower than what I normally would have charged for the wedding, but it wasn't far off. And there's no reason to haggle at certain points. Just shut up and take the money sometimes. And then it's not like I did it for the money. I did it because I liked the couple. If they were a pain in the ass couple, I would have never taken it. Because sometimes the most amount of money doesn't make up for the fact that you may work with a couple that's a pain in the ass. I knew this couple was going to be awesome, and they were awesome, and I knew they had a budget, and I knew they were straight up with me. See, that's what I love. I don't like games. I like playing certain games, but not when it comes to women. And I don't like women that play games. Why do you have to play games? There's no reason to play games. Just be straightforward. We don't want games. Guys don't want games. What are you thinking? Stop playing games. Just be straightforward. Be like, I like you. I don't like you. I don't want to go out with you. Why do you just ignore people? And instead of being honest and straightforward and be like, it's not going to work out, you just ignore you. I'm not talking from I'm talking from personal experience. I don't understand it, ladies, or guys who like other guys, or girls who like other girls. I don't understand it. What's the mentality in ignoring somebody instead of being straightforward? If you're not thinking it's going to work, and just be like, I don't think it's going to work. I don't feel something. Okay, awesome. At least there's closure. You don't just leave somebody hanging. And where were we? We were at hookers, right? We were at hookers. So when it comes to a job, ask the client what they're willing to pay. Or not what they're willing to pay. What is your budget? And that puts it on them to say, I've got $200 that I could put towards this portrait. And maybe that's more than you would have been able to ask for on your own because you didn't have that confidence yet. Don't sell yourself short. I don't care if you're a beginner. You still have to start holding yourself accountable for the jobs that you do. And I know there's a question coming up later about that, but If you want to just shoot for fun and you just want to shoot for building a portfolio, then just tell people that. I'm looking to shoot. If you want to give me a couple bucks for the time, by all means, go ahead and do that. But be confident. It's about confidence in what you're doing. So we'll move on because I went off on a side tangent there. Andy Atkinson, come on down. Which do you find yourself doing more often while shooting? Selecting your own focus point or letting the camera, I'm paraphrasing, letting the camera select. I never let the camera select my focus point. I am always choosing my focus point. The only time that the focus point would be chosen for me is if I use that all AF focusing point, that AFF, and I'm not for that, or AFA, that's autofocus auto, and that picks the focus for me. I don't like that because that may focus on somebody's foot because it's closer to the camera versus focusing on their chest or eyes where I want to focus. Always look at the lady's eyes. Don't go for the chest right away. But yeah, I focus where, I pick the focus point. So I'm either a 9-point autofocus, which is the dynamic focus, or I'm in single point focus if I am in AFS for single focus. Juan Limtiaco. That's right, Limtiaco. I got it right, I think. What are your best tips for trimming down your portfolio to the best images? And what is the best method for viewing and critiquing your own work objectively? What are the best tips for trimming down your portfolio? This is a great tip for how to trim down your portfolio. If you think you have to hide a certain image in your portfolio because you don't think it's strong enough, then it does not belong in your portfolio. Excuse me. So I'll say that again. If you don't think an image is strong enough to be in the portfolio because you're trying to hide it, and I've heard this with people talking about building portfolios. They sit there and they go, well, try to put this picture sixth because it's not as strong as this picture, and lead with your best and finish with your strongest and blah, 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 blah. It's your freaking portfolio. Every picture should be freaking strong. So if you come up to an image and you question yourself whether it should be in there, then it shouldn't be in there. And how do you, what is the best method of viewing and critiquing your own work objectively? I'm going to drink water first. It's your work. You either like it or you don't. Put in what you love. Don't allow other people to tell you that they don't like a certain image and you shouldn't use it for X, Y, and Z. I've seen this happen where the people in the know who may not be photographers, but they may help with portfolio building, think they know best, and maybe they do. But you are still the photographer, and you still should choose your images that you like the most. Every once in a while, you may give in and allow somebody to say, put this in there. But if you are not comfortable with the image, do not put it in there. Do not listen to them. Do your thing. It's your work. I'm going to pick my hair for those of you who are watching because I don't want it to droopy McDrooperson. So that's my feelings on that. Lil question. I didn't get a Lil question, but Lil's doing fine, by the way. This was taken Mother's Day, May 2000. So I took this, I printed it at Mid-City Camera. I'm sure I have the negative somewhere. My mom wrote on the back, it says Mother's Day 2002. No, 2000, just 2000. So Lil got that great hair. Well, she looks pretty good. In 2000, that was 13 years ago. She was in her 90s? She was 89 at this time, I think. Mom looked good at that time. Obviously, that was before she got sick. That's like 6 years before. Ugh, man, you hate going back and thinking about that. Yeah. One other side thing before I get back to the questions. Check this thing out. Work it, beautiful. This is a F4. I made a special video talking about this for the Fro Film project. We'll put that together, but I picked that up on eBay. I love that thing. Let's keep going. Adrian Outlaw. What's up, buddy? What picture style do you shoot in if you want to edit an image? Which picture style do you shoot in if you don't want to do any editing? Well, the simple answer is this. Shoot RAW. If you're shooting RAW, the picture style does not matter. Oh, yes. Well, I was thinking of a question that comes up later. Yeah, I was thinking of, but yes, it's the same thing holds true. I was thinking of the sRGB to Adobe RGB. I'll save that for when that comes up. What picture style do you shoot in, and if you want to edit an image? So here's picture style. Picture style doesn't affect your RAW file. So I want to tweak every image, like I said up above. I think every image needs to be tweaked when you shoot RAW. So it doesn't matter. But where picture control does matter is in video. Your picture, because you're not shooting raw video, so whatever your picture control is set to is what your video is going to be captured as. So if you have too much sharpening, then your video is going to look over sharp. But here's what I've done in the past and continue to do. I set my picture control in the camera. I bump the contrast up like 1, just because I want to see a more vibrant image on the preview screen. That's just affecting the preview. It's not affecting the raw file. And I pump the sharpening up just a little bit because I remember, wiggle it just a little bit, have it through. Yeah, that's right. That's a song. It's from the 90s. Look it up. Maybe it's called Wiggle It or Just a Little Bit. So I set the picture control. I set up the sharpening just a little bit because I ran into the issue where I thought my images weren't sharp. I thought they weren't in focus, not sharp, when I was looking at them in the camera, but I realized that it's because my sharpening was all the way down, and I just bumped it up a little bit so that it looked better for me. What's the best way to layer group pics and everyone's in focus? Make sure you have enough depth of field. That's really that. Morton Skalstad, not Skull, Skal, S-K-A-L is Skalstad. What education have you got? Well, first off, what education do I have, and how do you become a photographer? How did you become a photographer? Where were you an apprentice? Did you study photography, or did you do something different entirely? Education, School of the Hard Knocks. I started shooting at 13, learned on my own. I had 3 years of photography in high school, which set me up very, very well, and I chose to do that myself. I chose to not take a language because I got a D- in French, and I didn't speak very well, and I didn't learn languages very well. Jean-Claude, fermez la bouche. Oh, no, not close the window. Jean-Claude. I took Jean-Claude because of Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's why I called myself that. What did you say? Fermez la bouche. Oh, is that close your mouth or close the window? Ouvrez la. I think fermez la bouche. Yeah, was that close your mouth? Shut your mouth? Pascal, my French is not very good. Your French Canadian's better. Fermez la bouche, right? That's close your mouth. And ouvre-les, that's open, I think. So anyway, I had 3 years of high school, and I did a 2-year tech school, which is Antonelli Institute, for learning more photography, and then 10 years of just being out on my own. We talked about this one before, so I'm not really going to get into the schooling aspect, but that's my education. A lot of it's learned on my own. Were you an apprentice? No. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was not trying to assist for other photographers by thinking I was too good and already getting jobs with like Rolling Stone and the Flyers that I didn't assist with somebody else and learn on their dime and learn on their time. That is something that I think is one of the most important things to do, is learn and apprentice, whether you're making money or you're not, be an assistant for somebody else. So many of the big name photographers that I've talked to, whether it's Ben Leuna, who told a story about his friend saying, I'm going to go work for David LaChapelle, and he flew from London to New York and knocked on his door and basically became a pro. No, I had a thought. I'll tell you that in a minute. Basically, he knocked on his door and he got the job. We talk about that in RAWtalk 4. I'm taking a note because I just thought I should reach out to David LaChapelle to get a podcast or do a RAWtalk, and I know how to do this. I'm going to reach out to these people that I know who can connect me with these people. Email people, RAWtalk. Excuse me, I like taking notes, and I'm sorry if you're listening at home, but it's important to take these notes so you don't forget. I got to write down the guy's name. There we go. Sorry. It's just important, and I'm learning as I get older that when you have a thought or an idea, you better write it down quick because you could lose it. You could lose it in your mind. Fedor Derman. How to get all the party guests on a wedding to agree that the photographer is allowed to use the pictures. Let's say on a blog or otherwise. Just do it. That's one way. Another way is that I got another text. Who did it this time? Oh, it's my trainer. He's like, ? I'm busy, Steve. Let I'm just going to text him back. I'm just going to tell him I'm recording. Recording, we'll text you later. So basically, in your contract, you can write that you can use the images on your blog. You can use them for promotional purposes. That it's the job of the bride and the groom to let the subjects or the guests know that that's okay. Another way is you can post a printout that says that by being here at this wedding, you're allowing me to use these pictures to do what you want with it. So that's what you can say. Or you can just ask, but don't ask people. Don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness. That's my favorite. Instead of, asking for permission to do something, and I've said this before, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. But if you ask and they say no, you don't get the shot. So do it, then ask for forgiveness. Lee Churchill asks the important question of where do you see yourself in 2 years' time? Always a great question to ask people. It's always tough. I think I'll still be here, but I hope to have made some changes to personal things more so than the business side of it. But I do want to continue to grow business-wise. I want to continue with making video guides to help other people. I want to continue, and it helps me too, to create that stuff. I see hopefully teaching more around the world. I hope to do more personal photo gigs on my own. Though it's tough to separate that personal content from what I'm doing on the website. And I talked about this a little earlier. My mindset starts to shift. There's times I just want to go shoot, and I just want to go partake in, say, a project to go out and do it. But then I also want to share it with everybody. And it's that fight that goes on in my mind of, should I be filming this, or did I not film this properly? Am I not doing justice to the readers? Because I know they'd love to see this, but I want to go do this personally. But at the end, I feel like I didn't do enough. This is what goes on in my mind every freaking day. I don't know if it goes on in your mind, but I question everything. I am an artist, and I've learned from other people that they run through the same issues in their minds, whether it's a guy like Adam Duritz, and I'm not saying I'm like Adam Duritz, but he's an artist, and he's always fighting demons in his head that's saying this or saying that. And I'm not saying that I have demons in my head. I'm just saying that I question everything, and I take it to the 12th step. I jump to conclusion mats. There's a secret. We jump to conclusion mats all the time. I do. It's like I get these ideas, and then I start building out the process of how it's going to be successful. What are the issues that I'm going to face? How am I going to answer this problem? How am I going to do this? And it's horrible. The same thing happens with girls sometimes, where you start second guessing, you start questioning and reading into everything, and you shouldn't. You just should just be okay with it. But my brain doesn't work like that. It goes off on tangents, and it builds to the 12th step, and it questions everything, and it sometimes sucks. But so in 2 years, I hope to just be okay with certain things, and personally just going on, but creating, but have built something bigger and better, and the community that keeps growing. We're almost 3 years come June into this website. It's amazing how quickly it has grown and continues to grow and sustain that growth, and we've reached millions of people around the world. It's amazing to walk around the street in any city and find somebody that knows you. It's just crazy. Good question. Frank Arvizu, can you please make a recommendation on budget studio strobes? And should I get an extra large softbox or extra large umbrella? So, when it comes to shooting studio, you know me with budgets. I don't like cheaping out on things. I don't like buying crap. So if you can afford something good, then save up for it. There's these things called alien bees. It's from a company called White Lightning by Paul C. Bluff. I own White Lightnings. They are not alien bees, but alien bees are pretty damn inexpensive, whether it's $2.99 each. Now, they're individual flash heads. They're better, in my opinion, than using a portable flash, but for certain things. Portable flashes, as we'll learn in the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Flash Guide, are important for traveling and important for quick use, and you can get the same light from both. It's just there's more power that comes out of a studio strobe. Check out Alien Bees. You can get a nice setup for probably $1,000. When it comes to the softbox versus the umbrella, start with whatever you want, but I like to say start off with an umbrella. You can shoot through an umbrella almost like it's a softbox if you get the kind where you can take the top off of it. Here, hold on, I want to check how much time we're into this. 34 minutes. 34 minutes. Okay. So with the umbrella, you can do so many different things, whether you use the poor man's softbox, which is just breaking it down so that the umbrella closes a little bit. So I think it's very versatile to get an umbrella, a blah 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 blah. So yeah, I think that's a good place to go is with an umbrella. But master what you get before you start buying all the other accessories. Brendan Baker, how do you deal with clients assuming they can get stuff for free? Well, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. There should be no assumptions. How do you deal with clients assuming they can get stuff for free? I mean, I like getting stuff for free, but I don't assume. I offer to pay. I'd rather give somebody something for nothing if they offered to pay. Just a simple freaking offer of picking up the tab or buying you something or going, if somebody makes the freaking attempt to do something opposed to just going, you'll just give that to me, right? I don't like when people ask for favors. I am not a favor asker. I don't go, do me a favor, will you X, Y, and Z? If I want something, I ask for it. I don't say, do me a favor, because I don't like to feel the obligation that I have to do something because you need a favor. It's very, very rare where I will ask anybody for a favor. I just like to flat out ask for things. How do you deal with it? I either calmly deal with it or I calmly don't deal with it. And that's like saying, no, I can't. You just turn it around and go, do you work for free? Do you have a job? Do you do this? Do you work at the movies? Do you let people in for free without buying tickets just because? Or do you fix a car and expect the customer not to pay for the parts or to not pay you for your labor? It's just turn it the freak around on them and just turn it around. And that's if you want to get pissed off. And I don't like it. I mean, I get pissed off, but whatever. Jenny Wang, have you ever effed up in a photo shoot? What can a photographer do to make up to the client? So, this is a very good question. I am sure I have messed up. Everybody has messed up, and anybody who tells you that they haven't messed up on a photo shoot is lying. So you either have backup to support it, or you don't tell them that you mess certain things up. There's certain things to say, and there's certain things to not say. Back in the day when you had film gut processing, sometimes they messed it up at the lab. They messed your roll up. They exposed it to the light. The machine ate it, or they screwed it up and just are not owning up to it. There was nothing on the film. Oh, well, there's nothing because you exposed it to light, you moron. You messed it up. But you have to deal with that. There's nothing you can do once the mess up has happened. You can offer, you know what? We had an issue, guys. You tell the client. You're straightforward. Be honest. Don't try to beat around the bush. You go, look, I understand. If you totally we're going to take this to the extreme. All of your cards got wiped. Now, I shoot with 2 cards in my camera, though I pissed off that the Nikon D4 has 2 separate freaking cards because I want to put the same card in a camera to back it up. So this is how I do it. Even your D7000s, your cameras are with multiple cards in there. You shoot to one, you shoot to the other. They both copy the same. So if one gets messed up, you have the other and you back it up and use your Drobos and all that. But if for some unforeseen reason you've lost everything from a photo shoot with a client, you have to be straightforward and honest and say, look, we had an issue. It's not your fault. And don't get into this fault and don't get into making excuses. The images are gone. There was a major issue. And this is my thing. And this is what I'm dealing with a neighbor, somebody downstairs. I wonder if she's listening. I don't know. That'd be interesting. And what was I going to say? Oh, and this is with people in general. Sometimes you don't need to give somebody your life story. If you need something, you say you need it. You don't have to tell everybody why. It's not anybody's business to why certain things are needed, but you don't have to go into detail about everything. But when it comes to this, it's you messed up. There was an issue. Something happened. I don't need to go into details because the details, I don't need to bore you with it. You have to get past the issue to get to the solution. Quote unquote. You have to get past the issue to get to the solution. Meaning, it's over. It's done. The mess up already occurred. So you tell somebody, look, there was an issue. It's my fault. Let's figure out how to make a solution. I will pay for your time to come and reshoot with me. And most of the time, somebody may understand that. It depends. If you screwed up a whole wedding, you're screwed. You're screwed. There's not much you can do other than go to anybody else who had a camera at that wedding and ask them for their pictures. That's just one of those cases where if you mess up, you're done. You screw up a wedding and you lose all the images, you're in trouble. So that's why you got to take precautions to backing it up. But if this is, say, your friend you're shooting or somebody you did a portrait session with or you shot their child or something like that, it's not one of those once-in-a-lifetime events. If you screw up a once-in-a-lifetime event, there's really not much you can say to get that back because that's a once-in-a-lifetime event. But if it's an event like you did a portrait session and everything's gone, I know I'm long-winded and I'm going on and on about this, but you just go, look, I had an issue, all the pictures are gone, but let's move past that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm going to make it up to you. What can I do to make it up to you? I will take you to dinner after the photo shoot. We need to redo this. That's just what's going to have to happen. Let's make it happen. I will do a better job. I will give you your money. Not a time it's not about giving you the money back. It's giving other things to make it better. Like, I'll give you 10 free prints. I will do this. I will not charge you for this. I'm going to make you a photo book. I'm going to make this right for you. What can you do to make them right? Don't make excuses. Excuses are bullshit. Excuses are something that should have gone away when you were a child. And I was the king of excuses. I made a lot of excuses as a kid and probably as a teenager. And I got to the point where I got tired of making excuses. And I was just like, you own up to it. There's no reason to make an excuse. And people are so trained to thinking that you have to make excuses. Like, why are you late? I'm late. No excuse. I don't need to give you the detail. I don't need to tell you why. The fact is I'm late, but I'm here now. It's part of that getting past the issue to find the solution, right? You got to move past it. You can't live in the past and you can't get weighed down by the bullshit of explaining what happened. And it's just true. It's just true. You got to move past these things to get that solution. So if you've met, and I spent a ton of time on this question, but I think it's important. You've got to figure out a solution once you messed it up. It doesn't pay to harp on the past. It doesn't pay. You got to move forward. You got to get going, because if you live in the past, you're going to get stuck in the past and you're never going to move ahead. So that's what I have with that. And don't make excuses. There's no reason to make excuses. If something happened, it happened. Just say, and I think it pisses people off, and I piss people off, whether it's girls, whether it's guys, whether it's clients, or whether it's just people I know. I've probably pissed them off because I don't offer excuses anymore. I don't offer an explanation. You know, my alarm didn't go off. No, I overslept. Okay, I overslept. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter. I don't need to make an excuse and say, oh, because you're an adult. You take precautions, and sometimes shit happens. My answer to a certain thing, shit happens. It just happened. Now let's get past this, please, so that we can move on with our lives. There's no sense in harping on it. And with that, I'll move on to Jack Elam. Elam, like the kicker. Have you had any thought in making a FroKnowsPhoto iPhone Android app? I have thought about it. We started the process. I want to find the right person to do so. I don't know if the person I had before, they've never made one, and I wasn't fully comfortable in the fact that they never made one before. I would love somebody to make a FroKnowsPhoto app just so that you can access the archives and access the forum, and it would be free, and I could push notifications to you guys. That is what I have and I would like to do. Joe Medlock. What do you think would win, a polar bear or an octopus? So, I think, thinking about this logically, that studies have found that this is a fact, not really a fact, studies have found that I think an octopus would win. Why would an octopus win? Let's think about this. If a polar bear is swimming and the octopus grabs them and drags them under the water, the polar bear can't breathe because they are mammals. So they can't breathe underwater. And polar bears like water. I've seen this at the zoo. It's a fact. They like being in water, and they like kegs to play with. Also, I think that the advantage goes to an octopus because they've got 8 arms. Or is it 9? Are they like 8? Octopuses have 8 arms, right? 8. So that means they can use 4 of them to lock up the hands of a polar bear. They can wrap up the polar bear's paws and their feetsies. I think they're all called paws, right? 4 of them because they all walk that way. And then they can use the other to like punch them in the nuts and like punch them in the face and to tie their face up and then eat them with their beak. I don't think a polar bear would win this fight. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think an octopus would win. Who do you think would win, guys? A polar bear or an octopus, and why? Aaron Casbon. Some basic editing tips for the beginner in Lightroom. What are the key points to focus on and how to get a grasp on not overdoing it? The simple answer is if it looks overdone and it looks too sharp and it looks over the extreme and it doesn't look muted, not muted, but it doesn't look okay, common sense would say that you've overdone it. So my tips are just do it to taste. Do the editing and processing to what you like, but pull back on it a little bit. Now, I know I'm a guy who pumps my contrast up a lot, and I'm not saying that I need to pull. There are, proper English, Jared, there are some times that I pull back on my contrast because it's too much. But if it looks good to me, then I stay with it. So don't, if it looks too much, then go back. Matt Lewis asks, what is the best tip for shooting a concert with a camera that only goes up to 1600 ISO before hitting its high settings? That's simple. Shoot at 1600, but utilize better glass, a 51.4, 51.8, and get your settings right. You can do it. I did this shoot a long time ago that I never put up, that I shot the D3S at 1600 with a 51.4, and I did it. Yes, there's some issues with certain things, but I made it work. But make sure that your shutter speeds are fast enough. That's my tip. I rather shoot at a higher ISO, like 1600 in this case, than have a slower shutter speed and get blur. But that's me. Contreras. Upgrade to a D7100 or purchase a 70 to 200 2.8 lens for my D3100. I don't talk a lot of gear questions on here, but so if you have a D7100, what are you going to shoot with? You have no glass, but you have a camera. Or do you use a D3100 and put a good piece of glass on it? This is tough because a D3100 is a 2-generation-old camera compared to a D7100 that's coming out. The D7100 would blow the D3100 out of the water, but a D7100 with crappy glass isn't going to be as good as a D3100 with good glass. And that's just my answer right there. Daniel James Gordon Martson. I'm shooting my first wedding and slightly petrified. That's not good. Tips would be appreciated. I added the tips, not good, guys, if you're not watching. Help here. This is where I take umbrage. I'm shooting my first wedding and slightly petrified. Tips would be appreciated. In parentheses, helpful ones, not the standard shit. I'm taking offense to this question, i.e., how to not get in the way would be helpful. Thanks. There's ways to ask questions and ways not to ask questions. And Daniel James Gordon Martin, I don't know where you're from, so sometimes when we get questions from foreigners, the control of the English language isn't there, but I applaud people around the world who know multiple languages because I don't. So sometimes it doesn't go too well. But asking for helpful ones and not the standard shit is the wrong way to ask a question. That's the way to get somebody pissed off and basically say that you're asking me for help, but don't give you standard tips. You want me to do all the work for you. No. The tips for weddings are too many. There's guides out there you could purchase that are going to give you information. One, you shouldn't be petrified to do anything. If you're petrified, you may make major mistakes. If you're afraid to drive a car, you probably shouldn't drive a car. If you're afraid to shoot the wedding, then you're afraid you're going to mess it up. You probably shouldn't be shooting the wedding. I don't think that you should shoot your first wedding on your own. I think that this is where that assisting thing comes in, that you learn on somebody else's dime as a second or third shooter so that if you do mess it up, it's a wedding, for God's sake. It happens once, aka maybe twice if they get divorced and remarried. So if you mess it up, you're screwed. They're screwed more, and you're just looking bad because you messed it up. And they hired a person for shooting their first wedding without looking for, part of the problem comes down to wedding clients not checking the work. I just get pissed off when I read helpful ones, not the standard shit. If I'm reading into that, maybe you don't mean it that way, but to me, that's kind of a bad way to ask a question of me or of anybody. Like the tips I'm going to give you are bullshit or standard. Is there anything like standard? i.e. how to not get in the way would be helpful. Okay? Don't get in the way. Common sense says don't stand in front of the bride and groom so that nobody can see them. Kneel down in the aisleway so people behind you can see. But your job is to get the photos. So I rather get in the way. See, there's a double-edged sword. This comes with experience. This doesn't come from me giving you tips. It comes from doing it. And that's why you should not shoot a wedding on your own until you've shot weddings for somebody else. Wow. I don't mean to be an asshole, but reading the parentheses, helpful ones, not the standard shit. Why do you got to curse in there? Why do you have to curse in there? Because that just means like I'm not going to give you the right tips. Or that I'm not going to do something. I don't like that. That is not the way to ask a question. I'm going to drink water and calm down. So really, learn from this question. If you're shooting for your wedding, if you took out, I'm going to rephrase this. I'm shooting my first wedding and slightly petrified. Tips would be appreciated, i.e., how not to get in the way would be helpful. Now, that is a question I could answer. But when you add helpful ones, not the standard shit, I don't want to answer it. So I also like the fact that you went in and asked a more detailed question. Because I get questions like, give me tips for a wedding. No, I'm not going to give you tips for how to shoot a wedding. But tips for how not to get in the way, okay. I just gave a few of those, so don't get in the way. But also, don't be afraid to be in the way. It's that simple. Okay, moving on, because you're probably pissing people off. Diego Pi. I saw Life of Pi. Did anybody else see Life of Pi? Pretty crazy movie. I liked it. I shoot RAW and wish to know your opinion about shooting sRGB or Adobe. Which one would you recommend and why? One, it doesn't matter when you are shooting RAW which setting you are in. I shoot in sRGB just because that's where I shoot it. I don't shoot in Adobe or in Adobe. James Gosling. Would you recommend the Sigma's 50 to 150 2.8 over the 72 and 2.8 for a crop sensor camera, taking the financial savings overall usability into account? The 50 to 150 is a fantastic lens. It is less expensive. You are saving about $300 because I think it's $1,000 versus $1,300. The only issue is if someday, now, and I don't like this question, not your question, James. I like your question. I don't like the question that some people ask or some statements that they make that one day I plan to go full frame in like 5 years and I want to make that jump. If you're going to have your camera for quite a while, this 50 to 150 is going to be saleable for a long time to anybody because it's a great lens. And a lot of it comes in, do you need that extra reach? Do you need a 100 to 300 millimeter lens on a Nikon or like a 105 or 110 to 3 something because it's a 1.6 on the Canons? Or do you need that wider 70 to 200 in essence with the 50 to 150? It's a fantastic range. Take that extra savings with the 50 to 150 and buy a 17 to 50 2.8 for another 300. Take that 300 you saved and save another 300 and get that other so that you've got a nice set of lenses. So if you're not jumping full frame within the next 6 months, then yes, it's a good investment to get a 50 to 150 and save the money. I'm losing it. How many more do we have here? Okay, we're almost there. Jacqueline Wheatley, do you use any PS actions that you have purchased? First, no, I've never purchased an action. If so, what would you recommend for a good set of basic all-around? I don't like actions. No, I don't think that you should be pushing buttons to make your photos be edited. Like, I don't think that there's an action that you can run to make your photos good. I think you have to tweak and spend time. Somebody asked me last week, do I edit every single wedding photo? Yeah. Sometimes I sync ones that are similar, but I make the tweaks myself. I don't think that you should be buying actions to make your job easier. You can create your own actions for things that you use often as a starting point, but I think they're starting points. I'm losing it, guys. I need a pick me up. I need a pick me up. But we're going to truck through this. We're going to truck through this. We're going to get this finished. And we're going to get this going because this is a good one. But no, I don't buy actions, and I don't think you should buy them either. Mike Nye, do you ever feel any friction or competition from any of the other well-known people out there doing photography-oriented podcasts? I'm guessing not and hoping not, but I know that there are a couple really snarky personalities out there, and some of the same sponsors are popping up on different shows. Sorry, wish I had something better for you. It's a good question, and no, I don't, because I am me, and you are you. You know, if you're listening to me, it's because you want to listen. Thank you for listening. If you want to listen to the other guys, awesome. I honestly don't really know what the other photo podcasts are because I never looked at them. I am doing a podcast how I feel I want to do it myself. That is part of the reason I like doing podcasts in person, because most people don't do that. The really good people that do, the really high-end podcast people, the Mark Maron, the WTF podcast, the Nerdists of the world, those guys interview people in person. It's better, in my opinion, than doing them through Skype. It's more real, and that is what I like, and that is why I strive to get people in person and do the Raw Talks that way, because I think that is more real. It sets you apart. It makes you better than somebody else, in my opinion, to do a Raw Talk or to do a podcast in person, because it's more personable. You can look that person in the eye more so than looking into them into the camera. Ricardo, okay, Jaramillo, silent, right? Ricardo Aramillo. After editing the RAW file in Lightroom, I export to Photoshop to add the watermark, but Photoshop changes the colors. When I save the photos as JPEGs, help. Simple answer, Lightroom lets you put watermarks on your images. That's it. Jeffrey Lloyd, any advice in avoiding those beating a dead horse questions? This is good. This is good. I noticed with the monthly contest and others that people just don't read. This makes it hard to learn. People are wasting their potential. One, Jeffrey, try not to worry about these people not using their own potential. And I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong by doing that, because I like to try to help people. But you're right. There is no point in beating a dead horse. Like, I say the rules each week to each month to the contest, and I get the same questions because people either don't read or don't pay attention. But there's only so much you can lead a horse to water before what they drink. I don't know. There's only so much you can do to get people to actually pay attention and read. So I don't worry about it. I put the rules out there, and if people don't follow them, that's on them at this point because they didn't read or pay attention. Robert Del Pew. Jared, in your raw edits, you always add some sort of tag, General Sharp. What is this sort of tag, and what is the reason for adding it? I watched some videos about the workflow in Lightroom. Is that part of it? That is a preset, to answer a question earlier, that I made myself. It's a general overall sharpening that it's slight, but I just add it to an image. It's something I made based off of sharpening that I think is fine, that's not overdone, that is not over the top, that I may add to an image just to add to it. Chubby's Photography. Fro, any tips on how to get people to your website, Facebook page, or other outlet for getting jobs? I may go off on this in a second. Any suggestions would be great. I'm also running a contest on Chubby's Photography Facebook page. I'm giving away a free 5x7 metal print with the winning quote. Contest ends midnight Central Time on March 17th. So part of this is okay and part of it isn't. I made a video up on my roof that I haven't posted yet on people asking me to like their page or how to get more people to, marketing yourself. To get more people to your page, you have to interact with more people. You can't ask everybody to like your page and just get more numbers, because that becomes vanity. Is it a vanity game to say you have 1,000 followers or 1,000 likes? Or is it about interacting with people? The more you interact with people, the more people become consumed with the story you are telling, the more they're going to want to follow what you are saying and doing. So just hoping and wishing that people like you and find you isn't going to happen. And I made this mistake when I tried to do just anything over the past 10 years before I started the site. I had what I thought was great work and a website, and I would sit there going, why aren't people giving me jobs? Why aren't they coming to my website? How do, people, if you build it it doesn't mean they're going to come. It doesn't mean they're going to show up because you build it. You have to get people there, but you have to give them a reason. So offering a contest to give something away is a reason. That is better than just saying, hey, Jared, will you like my page? So giving somebody a reason to go to like your page or to interact with your page is partly a good thing to do. But getting people to your page is up to you. You have to give people a reason to want to interact and to follow you and to be with you. That's what it's all about. Tell stories, make people interested. So part of this is that, and Chubby doing a giveaway is a good thing to offer because it's going to get people to interact with your page. It's getting people there. You need to find ways to get people there. So doing things like this is good. So I didn't go off on it. I went off on it in a good way. Andy Hunt, hey Fro, is it possible to learn how to see a good shot? I'm a newbie and I look at other people's work and think to myself, how did they see that? I'm not going to say you either have it or you don't, but a lot of people either have it or they don't. But that doesn't mean that what you are seeing isn't right. Study the other works that people do and start to anticipate the action. When you anticipate action and where it's going to happen and what's going to happen, that is when you start to see the moment. Watch movies. An entire movie is a moment because somebody thought about every single angle and frame in that movie. The head of photography, whatever they're called, the master photographer guy on a set, is framing and composing every image, and they're seeing the shot. So start to train yourself to see the image. And that is it. Wow. A lot of questions, went off on a lot of tangents. I thank you guys for all of these questions. And am I blurry right now? I am. I probably need to go eat something. I had some eggs. I had organic eggs this morning, 2 of them. But I guess because I went off on tangents like hookers and stuff, I don't know, I got a little worn out. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for the free video guide, the free photo, a guide to capturing motion in low light situations, you can sign up for the email list. That's where I send out cool things, giving you information, first input or first insight on deals, Fro deals that come up. Also, articles I wrote like why I shoot RAW. I sent that out as an email 2 days before I put it up anywhere else. So you guys were first to see that if you're on the email list. And if you haven't checked out the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Capturing, the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide to Getting Out of Auto, the 3-hour guide, check it out on the website. It's a great guide. It's really going to help you out. Want to thank allenscamera.com, BBO Poker Tables for the poker table I'm not sitting at, Adorama Picks for the prints that are on their way, Drobo, and a big thanks to you guys for constantly being out there and participating and picking up gear in the FroKnowsPhoto store and supporting the sponsors. I don't have as many sponsors as other people because I kind of say no to a lot of them because I am able, the honest truth here is that I'm able to not take sponsorship because of t-shirts, because I am able to take the funds that come in from there that allow me to keep the site up and running and, pay for certain things. I don't have to be beholden to sponsors like some of the other websites that are constantly running deals or constantly pushing sponsors and advertisers. I do it here because I go to certain sponsors and ask them if they want to advertise. That's and I get people coming to me asking me to sponsor to sponsor me in the site, and I say no because I don't really need it and I don't want it. There's certain ones that I do want because it's mutually beneficial for both of us. And somebody like Alan, I support them wholeheartedly. It's a great place, and it doesn't hurt to check them first if you want to make a purchase of a camera or an accessory in the United States, because they ship only in the U.S. So, that doesn't hurt. Or Adorama, and I tell this to, the funny thing about advertising is, I only will take a sponsor and an advertiser of something that I believe in. So something like Adorama Picks, I like their prints. I like what they can do. But the truth is, I can only recommend that somebody goes and checks them out. For those people who don't know where to get prints made, you can go to Adorama Picks and make prints. I can only recommend that. Once you go and do it, it's in the advertiser's court. It's up to them to do a good job. And I think 99% of the time, they're going to do a good job. There's always exceptions to the rule. But it's in their court, and that's true with anything. Somebody hires you as a photographer, it's in your court to do a good job. They are putting the faith in you. And I put my faith in the certain advertisers, like, Black Rapid, which I didn't even talk about today, but I like the strap. And by the way, the FroKnowsPhoto Black Rapid strap is coming soon, and I can't wait to bring that to you. But, that's about that. I have to go get ready to shoot, so I got to eat some food, get ready to go shoot the concert, and I thank you guys for listening to RAWtalk. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can download it on FroKnowsPhoto.com/RAWtalk. This is episode 26, Flying Solo. I answered a ton of questions. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments in YouTube, and thank you guys very much. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.